ask me if I give a fuck about man. Recently I just don't give a fuck about a thing. Ask me if I give a fuck about it this. Ask me.
John William Agrue was born on September 11, 1947 to Chauncey and Nona Agrue. He was an American serial killer with 3 known victims. He was born in El Paso, Texas, and passed away on June 29, 2009 in Joliet, Illinois from a prescription drug overdose. He was convicted of 1 count of homicide for taking the life of his 15-year-old sister-in-law, though he would be linked to 2 more homicides after his death. In 1968, in Joliet, Illinois, he was convicted of 1 count of homicide for which he received a 20 to 50-year sentence. In December of 1975, he was being transported to the University of Illinois Hospital in Chicago to donate a kidney to his sister Kathleen. After a successful surgery, he was ordered to stay at the hospital until he fully recovered. On May 11, 1975, Agrue escaped custody by climbing out of a bathroom window and stealing a car. He was recaptured about a week later in Central City, Nebraska, after the car he stole was reported missing. He was then extradited back to Illinois to continue serving his sentence. In January of 1982, Agrue was paroled and moved to Colorado, initially living in Boulder before relocating to Longmont. From June 1982 to July 1982, Agrue committed 2 known homicides, though he would not be linked to these cases until after his death. In March 1983, Agrue was convicted of kidnapping and was sentenced to 6 years. He was then returned to Illinois for a parole violation. He remained behind bars until 1989 when he was paroled yet again. Since 1989 parole, Agrue was not linked to any violent crimes. Agrue was linked to 3 homicides, only being convicted of 1 because he wasn't linked to the other homicides until after his death in 1989. I could find no information on his 1983 kidnapping victim. On July 21, 1966, an 18-year-old Agrue met his 15-year-old sister-in-law, Suzanne Marino, in downtown Joliet, Illinois, and asked her to accompany him to the nearby Hamel Woods Forest Preserve. When they arrived there, he started making romantic advances towards her, only to be promptly rejected. Angered, Agrue pulled out a small knife and stabbed her approximately a dozen times, taking the life of Marino in the process. Later that day, he returned to his home and admitted the homicides to his wife, who initially did not believe his claims. To prove he was telling the truth, he drove her to the crime scene and showed her where he had left her purse and shoes. After this, Agrue's wife began urging him to surrender himself to the authorities. He instead went to a local church and confessed his crime to a priest, who promptly contacted the authorities. Agrue was taken into custody 2 days later. During subsequent police interviews, he admitted that he had taken the life of Marino because she had rebuffed his advances towards her. Due to his confession and overwhelming evidence against him, Agrue was quickly convicted of Marino's homicide and given a 20 to 50-year prison term and transferred to the Joliet Correctional Center to serve out his sentence. On July 1, 1982, a body was found in Boulder Canyon in Colorado. The body turned out to be that of Susan Becker, a 20-year-old packager from Boulder, Colorado. She was stabbed 13 times in the neck and chest. Becker had graduated from Boulder High School in 1979 and was a packager at Pearl Street Market. Even though she was living in Boulder, she was staying with a friend in Longmont. Although Agrue was never officially named as a suspect, the Becker family say they knew all along that it was Agrue who had taken Susan from them. Agrue was linked to Susan Becker's homicide in 2010, 28 years after the crime, through DNA. Investigators had his DNA after it had been used to connect him to another Longmont cold case Susan left behind a brother David, a sister Ellen, and her mother Rufine. On July 9, 1982, the body of 94-year-old Orma B. Smith was found in a stream just east of Big Elk Meadows, Colorado. She had been stabbed in the chest and neck. Orma was born in Greenland, Colorado, and had moved to Longmont in 1926 after marrying Arthur Smith. She worked as a school teacher and a librarian. Orma had a foot problem and often accepted rides from people she knew, including her next-door neighbor, John Agrue. She was last seen in Longmont on July 9, 1982, and was found the very next day. The list of suspects was narrowed down to two people: John Wood, an insurance salesman who owed Orma a substantial amount of money, and John Agrue. After Agrue's death of an accidental prescription drug overdose, he was linked to her homicide through DNA. Agrue lived behind his niece, Cora Amy, in Joliet, Illinois. Per her statement, Agrue would stand outside her house while walking his dog and say, "I'm going to kill them, puppy. I'm going to kill all of them." Amy took the threats seriously because he served time in prison for taking the life of his sister-in-law and bragged about taking the life of a Colorado woman. Larimer County Sheriff Jim Alderden confirmed that a recent DNA test tied Agrue to the 1982 slaying of Orma Smith. Unfortunately, the match came after Agrue died of a prescription drug overdose. Agrue became a suspect in the homicide of Smith after he assaulted a 26-year-old Boulder woman with a knife. Amy stated that years later, Agrue returned to his mother's house, which was behind hers in Joliet, and had confided in her, she believes, because of what they had in common. Amy, 43, had also served a prison sentence for fatally shooting a store clerk during a robbery. When she told Agrue that she found religion and changed her life, he chided her. He told Amy that he killed a fundamentalist Christian in Colorado. He then asked if she knew how to commit a homicide and get away with it. Agrue continued, "Just become their friend, and anything the police get, they can't use against you because you were their friend and it was okay for you to be there." After his confession, Amy would see Agrue at the fence in the middle of the night. She wondered if he regretted his admission. On August 17, 2008, Amy received an online article from the Denver Post website about Smith's homicide. The article stated that Agrue befriended his new neighbor. She allowed him to make phone calls from her phone, and he would give her rides in his car. When Amy saw the article, she knew her life was in danger. Amy tried to get a restraining order but was denied because Agrue never actually hurt her. Amy called Larimer County Sheriff's Office and told them about Agrue's confession. She was told that they had already started testing the DNA from the Smith case, including cigarette butts found near Smith's body. Amy brought the video cameras and installed them outside her house. Amy stated, "I'm going to document it, and if he's going to kill me, he won't get away with it." Thank you for watching, and if you like this kind of content, give me a like and subscribe. It'll help me keep this channel going. Join me next week when I'll be discussing Charles Albanese. See you next week, and as always, stay safe.